in his walk. So.
Yeah, that's all.
And stuff. Okay, we'll start inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wahdahu salatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da. Amma ba'd. قال الله تعالى ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة صدق الله العظيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا. Sorry, excuse the voice. It might crack a little bit in between. I'm just recovering. But inshallah we should be fine. You can still hear and understand me, right? If I say something you don't understand, just raise your hands. I'll repeat it, inshallah. First of all, just to introduce to yourselves, there's a number there, slido.com. If you want to go on to that, that's just for anyone that wants to put in an anonymous question, especially for the sisters. If you want to ask a question and also you want to take part in some of the questions I'll ask. So I'll ask you some questions as well, inshallah. You can give me some feedback on certain points. And the sisters who are listening, they can take part in using this link, inshallah. So if you want to type, if you go into slido.com and just type in this code, it'll ask you for a code, and just type in this code 2209871. Any brothers that want to ask a question, that might, I know sometimes you don't want to ask the question by putting your hand up, you want to ask a question anonymously. You just type it on there. I'll be able to see what question you're asking, and inshallah I can try to address that question. Okay, inshallah. I just advise, if the sisters there, just take that number down for the sisters that come later on, maybe, or maybe for the brothers, just take a picture or something. There's also the WhatsApp group there. I'll share that later on anyway. That's just to keep you updated with all the information that we're giving out. Sometimes whilst we're going through this, it's a 2-hour workshop. It's going to be a lot that we're going to be going through. So there's a lot that we're going to be discussing, and it's going to be hard to retain everything. It's not practically possible for you to retain everything we're going to talk about in the 2 hours. So this is why we've created this WhatsApp group. It's a WhatsApp channel basically, and it started off with a group and it turned into a channel where we are just giving out snippets of information that we try to give in these detailed workshops, so people can remember, retain, and obviously make things very practical and useful. That's what this is all about, inshallah. Just now, a little bit about MFF, our organization. I started about 20 years ago, believe it or not, where once I graduated, a lot of people slowly, gradually would come to me for help, asking for solutions to their problems, mainly marriage problems. And alhamdulillah, these solutions that we were able to offer, because of the guidance that was given through my teachers, it worked for many people, alhamdulillah, it worked. And like that, word of mouth, people, that solved their problems, saw other people, friends, family and things, people in problems, and then they would just pass my number on to others, and it became something from nothing really. I never set out to become a marriage counsellor, but it turned into something whereby, and then I thought that, I'm counselling people, I need to actually do some studies in this. So then I actually did some studies, and alhamdulillah, we were able to get to something whereby I was alhamdulillah being able to solve problems for people. But obviously it got to a stage where it was too many problems, and every imam I was talking to, every shaykh I was talking to was going through the same thing, whereby people are coming to them and it's hard to give time, that much time. Sometimes, just the other day I was talking to a student of mine, and he was sitting with a couple for 5 hours that trying to solve their problem. Like, that's one couple's problem, 5 hours. And there's another couple that want their problem solved as well. I mean, like, if you just carried on doing that, you just be forever just doing that. You know, obviously, you need to earn, right? You need to pay the bills. And this sitting for 5 hours with somebody doesn't pay the bills. So it became something which I saw that, you know, I'm trying to help people, but it's too much, overwhelming. So then we got together with a student of mine where I thought that this is the problem, let's think of a solution. So I thought that, look, I'm constantly dealing with people at the end of a conveyor belt where people are in their marriages already, dissatisfied, going through problems, they don't know how to solve the problems, and unfortunately many people just end up in divorce, whereas there was solutions that they could have, you know, exercised certain practices, and that would have made sure that they would not have led to their divorce. And unfortunately, children growing up in broken families like this because of parents not being able to solve their problems. So we thought that why not deal with the problem at the beginning of the conveyor belt, where people are coming into the marriage being better equipped with the right knowledge of what to do, practical tips of what to do if you counter these kind of problems and what marriage is all about. So whilst we were doing all of this studying, we came across Malaysia, mashallah, that already have this, you know, this model where Malaysia, where they saw that marriages, because Malaysia, majority Muslim country, right? So they were seeing that the divorce rate is escalating, is increasing. And the number of divorces reached a stage of 30%. And that's quite a damning figure, especially for a majority Muslim country. We would think that our whole ethos is all about promoting marriage, completing half of our faith, and so on. So they saw that this is a escalating problem, so they needed to do something about it. So alhamdulillah, some people thought of a solution that let's devise a course which everyone has to do. Whoever wants to get married, they must do this course. If they don't do this course, they can't get married. So it's like a license to marry, as you would say. Without that, you can't get married. So they rolled out from governmental level, they rolled out this course, short course, and alhamdulillah, it dropped the divorce rate to 8%. From 30% to 8%. Can you see? Just simple equipping people with basic knowledge, right? Simple things. It puts them in a better position to deal with problems that they will face inevitably, because this is life. We're all going to face problems. But if we're prepared for it, then inshallah, hopefully, we'll deal with it in a better way. So that was the whole idea of starting this kind of thing. So that's what we wanted to do as an organization in the UK, team up with masjids, because generally masjids, organizations, they're the ones who conduct the nikah. So we may not get to a stage where governmentally we'll be able to push a necessary course, but at least the imams, if they can push some sort of course, doesn't have to be our course, but some sort of course whereby the Muslims are doing, and we are encouraging the Muslims, look, I've done your nikah, I will do your nikah. And most people come and they book a nikah like at least 4 weeks in advance, 2 months in advance, 6 months in advance, that, you know, we want to do a nikah over here, this is the date. So we encourage the institutions to tell the people, okay, we book your thing, but do this course. So what we've done now, alhamdulillah, we developed this course for it took us about 2 years to develop this course. Initially, Mom Miftah sitting there as well, did our course. It's a 16-hour course. So it's a 16-hour full-fledged course taking people from beginning to right to, you know, having children and what happens after children and everything, conflict resolution, goes through everything. But that's 16 hours of a course. So we did the full course in 2 different places. Then we got feedback from people. Alhamdulillah, well over 100 people did the course. men and women. And all the feedback we got four main things that came back for us. One thing, people told us that it's quite it's quite it's quite long. 16 hours is quite intense. A lot of things that you're teaching, because we're teaching fast pace from before marriage, how to get married, all the way up to children, and we're teaching in 16 hours. It's a lot of information that you're taking on board. So that was one thing that people were telling us, there's a lot of information to take in one go. So that's one thing. Second thing, because we were charging for it, so some people were like, the charge, maybe we can look at the charge. So we said, fair enough, no problem. Third thing was that, I really wanted to do the course, but I wasn't free the weekend you were doing it. I want you to do it now, but you're not free now. And I can't keep doing the course every single time, right? And I was meeting scholars that sat in the course, senior scholars, and they were telling me that you need to run this course every week. I'm like, I've got family too, right? If I start doing the course every week, I'll probably be in the problems that I'm talking about, right? Right? So I was like, yeah, I understand the problems, I understand the need, but we need to solve this now somehow. So then what we did was, we went away and we recorded the course, and we made it from 16 hours, we halved it down to 8 hours, bare minimum, just essentials. What do people need? So we cut it down to 8 hours roughly, and we recorded the course. So what it meant now was that if it's a recording, we don't need to charge people for it now. It's available and it's on demand. It's at your convenience. You can do it. So when you're ready to do it, you do the course. Right? So that solves the problem of people, and it also solved the problem of having to charge people. We don't have to charge people anymore, because we don't have to pay people. Because obviously doing all of the things, we had to pay people, and that meant that we had to charge people to pay people. But alhamdulillah, when it's recorded, it's there, it's on the website, it's there, and there's no need to charge the people for it, no problem, you can do it for free. So it's on demand, it's absolutely free, it's in bite sizes. So there's only 10 minutes of a clip. So we go through one issue, we talk about it for 10 minutes. If it spills over, we talk about it in the next 10 minutes as well. And we'll talk about it for a few sessions, and you just listen to it. You can literally be in your headphones, be listening to what we're talking about, and be out and about, be traveling, be going to your work, be going to your college, university, whatever it is, be going about your day, listen to the 10-minute clip, and then after a session, after a module, so we've moduled it up in about 7 to 8 modules, and after a certain module, there'll be a little questionnaire, just to make sure you're retaining what you've learned. You do the questionnaire. If you pass the questionnaire, then you move on to the next part. If you don't, then you're not retaining, you've not understood certain parts. Just do it again. So like this, alhamdulillah, we've now got a free crash course. So if you go to marriagecrashcourse.com, that's the flagship the course that we do now, which is available for free, available for anyone. And I tell everyone that wants to get married and serious about getting married, then you and your partner, you must both go through this course. There's no benefit for me in it. Remember, I'm not gaining anything out of it. So for me telling you is simply because there's a load of experience that's gone into it. To the extent that in order to, like I said, this is like 2 years worth of studies that we've condensed into this course. And we've taken from, obviously primarily from Quran, from Sunnah, we've taken from the life of our pious predecessors, reading biographies, and then I've also taken like advice from senior scholars. When I got the opportunity, I would sit with them and I would ask them, this is what I'm doing, tell me something that I'm missing. They would say, okay, maybe add something, add this, add that. Like that, we got together, alhamdulillah, with a lot of brains, a lot of experience, and I was able to now, alhamdulillah, get all the essentials into this course. So this is what this is all about, alhamdulillah. I would urge everybody, we see the vision now of what this is about. We want everyone in this country and all across the world, inshallah. So we've got, mashallah, teams right now, today, in fact, there's a scholar in America who's doing a course, not the marriage part of it, because we do not only marriage, we do everything to do with families. We've now, alhamdulillah, expanded into any problem that family deals with. We want to try to tackle that. So we'd go through, obviously, marriage, pre-marriage, post-marriage. We go through parenting, pregnancy, early years parenting, teenage parenting, because every set of different parenting brings different challenges. So we go through practical workshop, and then we also deal with mental awareness, mental health, because obviously that's something that impacts the family. Then addictions, we talk about all different types of addictions, right? Gaming to any type of addiction, where obviously we're trying to help people to come off addiction, to understand what addiction is, and just creating awareness and try to help people. So we do wills as well, wills workshops as well. So we do a lot of, alhamdulillah, anything that is related to families. Alhamdulillah, we've tried our best to make sure we're trying to accommodate and facilitate for families to run smoothly. So the idea of our organization, Muslim Family Foundation, is to allow families to flourish. Simple and straightforward. So that's the vision. I hope everybody shares the same vision. I'm sure everyone does. So that's the reason we want everyone to carry this message to others. It's not necessary that they do my course or our course. If other organizations, mashallah, take on, we've shared, like I was explaining, we've shared our materials, mashallah, with scholars in America now, mashallah. We have a unit in America that, mashallah, are now doing a course. There's people in Australia that are, mashallah, taken on our resources, and they're now, mashallah, doing our course. I've run this course also last week in Denmark. So I went to Denmark and I ran this similar course for the brothers and sisters there as well, mashallah. I've been to Canada, I've been to, mashallah, different places. In the UK, I've been to so many places. And we teamed up with places like in India, mashallah, there's an organization that started similar time to us, with a similar vision to us. We didn't know about them until afterwards. And alhamdulillah, we got to know them, they got to know us, and now we're working together as well, sharing resources, sharing ideas. We have meetings together as well. And alhamdulillah, we're trying our best to work together as an ummah, as we should do. So that's the whole idea of this organization. I hope everyone can understand. We work with everybody and we try our best to do things together, inshallah. Just quick few disclaimers before we continue, is that whatever we're going to talk about, obviously, is to be taken on a holistic level. Okay, it may not necessarily be, it shouldn't be, if you're married here, it shouldn't be considered to be some sort of ammunition that you're equipping yourself with, and then you go back and you say to your partner, did you hear what the Shaykh said? Yeah, make sure you listen carefully. Yeah. So it's nothing like that. We're not equipping each other. We're trying to learn for ourselves, inshallah. To reflect, how can I improve? And the advice is targeted at the general populace of men and women. Obviously, there's got to be certain stereotypical things that we're going to have to say, certain generalizations that we're saying, because it's something that is concerning men as a whole, or women as a whole. It may not be, you may not be like that, it's fine, no problem, right? You can say, I'm not like that, no problem, right? But generally men are like this, or generally women are like this. So that's the reason we're discussing these things, inshallah, to come with solutions. And that's why we're trying to say that idea is to try to be balanced between men and women. It's not to attack each, to be some sort of misogynist, or to be feminist, or to be this way or that way. Nothing like this. The idea is to state what the facts are. Right, so this is what we're going to be doing, because I understand that a lot of people, what gave me feedback from the beginning was main part is the preparation for marriage, right? How to prepare to get married. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, inshallah. In the future, inshallah, we'll discuss other aspects. So we're going to talk about when and where to look. We're going to talk about what to look for, and then how to choose your ideal spouse. This is another time, inshallah, we can discuss this at a later time. We won't get time to discuss this today, but this is post-marriage. So we're talking about during marriage, where living a happy married life, marriage essentials, and conflict resolution. I did intend to talk about it, but because of the feedback that brothers gave, I feel that the pre-marriage is something that we need to concentrate a lot more on, perhaps. So in the future, inshallah, we can come back and we can talk about the other aspects of marriage as well, inshallah. So firstly, preparing for marriage. So we'll talk about when to look, so a bit more in detail, zooming in a bit more. So categories of marriage we'll talk about. We'll go through certain supplications as well, du'as that we can make. Where to look, platforms, we'll discuss what to look for, traits, qualities that you should be looking for in a partner, how to determine questions that you will ask your partner, choosing your ideal spouse, the process. We'll see if we can get to this part. We may not get to customary practices and nikah walima. Let's see in terms of timing how far we can get. So firstly, when to look. When do you start looking for marriage? So that's something we need to know. Obviously, for those who are married, inshallah, you can help your youngsters, if your children or younger brothers and sisters or anybody else, you can help them to understand this concept, okay? So you're looking into the distance. When do you think, everybody, when do you think a person should start to look for marriage? Meaning age-wise or whatever otherwise, when do you think?
I think the usual answer to that is when you're financially stable.
Okay, when you're financially stable. I get that quite a lot, yeah? Okay, anything else? Anyone care to share their own opinion? Sisters, you can join the Slido link, yes?
Depends on a case-by-case basis.
Case by case, okay. Yes?
When you're like mentally mature.
Mentally mature? Okay. Would somebody put an age on it? Or no one would put an age on it?
I say the younger the better. That's what they say, don't they?
The younger the better? Various opinions will have. Okay.
What is young?
What is young?
Define young.
True. About 22, 23.
22, 23, they say?
I'm old.
So that's old. Okay, so when to look? The hadith, because that's our guidance here, we look at the Quran and hadith. Hadith says, أيها الشباب, and the Prophet is addressing youth, talking about young people, right? He says, من استطاع منكم الباعة, that whoever from you is able to get married, whoever from amongst you is able to get married, then let him get married. فليتزوج, get married. So this is the instruction of Prophet ﷺ. If you're able to, go get married. Isn't it quite simple? Our deen makes it quite simple, right? Because why? فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ وَأَحْسَنُ لِلْفَرْجِ, because it is better in controlling your gaze and preserving your chastity. So we all know that that is the case. So we have to understand what's happening nowadays is we're pushing the age of marriage. We're pushing. Most of you will know the age of marriage for our elders was when? When was maybe your fathers, mothers, grandparents, when did they get married?
My mum got married at 18.
18?
Yeah, my grandma, great-grandma, she was like
17?
17.
But I think it's a really important thing here to understand what do you mean by able to get married? What conditions?
That's what we're going to talk about next, yeah. So, they got married younger, right? Just bear that in mind to understand certain points, inshallah. Obviously, another hadith here as well, famous hadith. An-nikahu min sunnati, marriage is from my way, from my practice. And it's not only the way of Prophet ﷺ, it's the way of majority of the prophets. Majority of the prophets that came into this world, they all married. Right, so this is the way of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. So it's something that we are encouraged to do, to get married, to settle. It calms a person, it settles a person. Right? It allows a person to, for those who are married will know, you grow, right? The mental growth we're talking about, a lot of it happens after marriage. And you know, we're talking financial as well, a lot of that happens after marriage. There was an incident, I'll give you an example of where Prophet ﷺ, we believe his practice to be the best, yes? The Prophet ﷺ, a Sahabi came to him and says to him that complains of poverty. Says that I'm poor. Prophet sometimes get married. You think, what? I'm complaining of poverty. And he's telling me get married? How's that a solution? Yeah, I can't afford food for myself, shelter for myself, clothing for myself. Now I'm going to have to take the burden off of somebody else. How am I going to afford for them? Yes, but there's a deeper understanding behind this. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions, إِن يَكُنْ فُقَرَاء يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ سَعْتِهِ, that if the person is poor, we don't believe Allah ta'ala has promised to be lies, do we? Ultimately, Allah is telling us that if you are poor, that Allah will make you rich. Through the vastness of Allah, Allah has in His treasures. Do you think, because this is the concept of Prophet ﷺ teaching the Sahabi, do you think that you feed? Do you think you're the sustainer? Do you think that this partner you're going to get married to, and you are going to be a provider for them? Do you see concept? Ultimately, Allah is the one who provides. We have to take our obviously steps. We're not saying just go blindly, go get married. That's not being irresponsible. That's not what our deen is teaching us. But we have to understand there's a balance. There's a balance. Otherwise, a person will say, I've met people, and I'm sure yourselves will. I've met people at the age of 35, 36, 37, and they're still not financially stable. Yes or no? So then they're going to be saying, I'm not ready to marry yet. So then you tell me that person, is that person going to be able to control at 35, 36, 37? Come on, let's be real. Is that person going to be able to control their nafs, their desire? Are they going to control their gaze? Are they going to control their chastity? It's easy to fall into sin. And a person becomes so habitual of that sin now, that I'm happy with the way I am now. It suits me. I don't need marriage anymore. Do you see? This is corruption. This is lewdness. This is society becoming corrupt now. And if we have majority of the people become like that, how are you going to expect your children to grow up in the society? Our children will become like that. They're going to become, that's normal. To them, that's normal now. Is that how we want it to be? So we have to ask ourselves the question, that where are we heading if we are setting certain, goals as such? Are they actually goals? Are they things that we should be setting as the benchmark? Let's look at our hadith. Let's look at our guidance in our sharia. What is it telling us to do? So this is something to bear in mind. Obviously, we're trying to strike a balance. It's not to, the be and all, for everything. We're talking about just one thing. No. Obviously, there's a balance to be approached. So now, what do we mean now? If a person, in a practical sense now, looks into the distance, you look into the distance with your binoculars, and you see certain boats that are sailing. You have to see, what boat do you go into? What boat are you in? So marriage could be for a person fard, compulsory, when a person is certain that they will fall into sin. If you're certain you will fall into sin, to save yourself from the sin, you have to get married. Okay? Then there's a lesser degree of wajib, whereby obviously the way it's proven is slightly different. That's why the scholars will call this wajib now, meaning mandatory for the person to get married. Practically there's no difference anyway, but it's still something that we categorize to be slightly different. So this is where a person may fall into sin. Not certainty anymore. There's maybe that I will fall into sin now. The higher the degree of chance, then obviously the more it will be closer to fard. But it will become wajib for this person now to get married. Does that make sense? So a person needs to see, what boat do I go into? Likewise, to carry this further, the next two boats you see is sunnah and mubah. Sunnah, obviously we understand what it is. This is when a person does not fear, there's no fear that you will fall into sin, but you have the capability to get married. If you have the capability to get married, as we understood in the hadith before, we discussed that the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged us to get married. It is his sunnah, so it's something we should do. and it's done with the intent of the sunnah. I am doing something because my Prophet did it. So you get reward for that as well. The next category we have is mubah, where it means permissible. It's still permissible to get married, but it's no longer sunnah. Why? Because it's done without the intention of sunnah. So if you get married without the intention of sunnah, you're just doing it because you want to get married. Because I love this person, I want to get married to them. Your own reasons, your own desires, no problem. Still permissible for you to marry. But you're not doing the sunnah now because your intent isn't there. Does that make sense? So it's better to then make the intention, yeah? The next two categories we have is makruh and haram. Makruh is where it's disliked. This is where a person fears there's a chance that I may not be just towards my spouse. I'm going to get married to this person, but I will not be able to fulfill their rights. If I will not be able to fulfill their rights, maybe I'm on a maybe scale there, then it's makruh for this person to get married. They shouldn't be getting married, even if they fear that they would fall into sin. So we talked about that before. You fear that you fall into sin, but even if you fear you're going to fall into sin, but you know that you're not going to be able to fulfill somebody's rights that you get married to, you can't get married. It's makruh for you to get married. Why? Because you can't cause harm to somebody else to save yourself from sin. That's not allowed in our Sharia. And then the last category is very similar, haram. This is when you are certain, you know you will not be able to fulfill somebody else's rights. You're going to harm somebody now by getting married to them. Then you're not allowed to get married to them. It's a haram. It's not allowed. Don't do it. You're causing somebody else out. You're ruining somebody else's life here. So this is something to bear in mind, that different categories are there. But our Sharia is very balanced, you see. It doesn't just say, oh, everybody go get married. But it also shows the perspective of, oh, some people may not be able to. Generally, we're somewhere in the middle. We're encouraging people to get married, where we're saying that, yes, it would be encouraged for you to go get married. So now we've understood that. We have to face some facts. This is something we're talking about already. Obviously, we understand that Rasulullah ﷺ mentioned al-haya'u min al-iman, that modesty is from faith. Right? We have to make sure our modesty is upheld. This is part of our deen. Now, maintaining chastity, modesty is vital to a healthy and safe society. For those who are old enough will know. Yeah, I'm old enough to know it here. I remember when we were young, we used to play out in the streets. We used to go to the park ourselves with our friends. Our parents would have no worry. Yes, we'll come back by nightfall or before nightfall. As long as we're home, no problem. Yeah, every weekend we're gone. After school, if you got off from madrasa, you go and you come. We used to play, no problem. Yeah, this is how we used to play. How would we see that now? Why not? Devices is one reason, but why do parents not let their children out? It's not safe, yeah? It's not safe. We do not feel that our children can go out safely. Somebody is going to do something, yes or no? No safe. In how long? How much time? Within 10, 15 years, this shift happened, whereby we see children aren't able to play outside in the streets anymore. There are children who are active. They want to go out. And so many parents say, tired, exhausted. How much energy has this child got? They're just playing, jumping, running around, and you have to constantly shout at them, stop jumping on the sofas, stop breaking things, kicking the ball, breaking things. Yes, when we were young, we didn't have that problem, because we just went out, parents had let us out. But you can't do that anymore. Why? Because hedonism, meaning following one's desires, just whatever you want to do, you do. Because that's how our society, and unfortunately the West, has become. That you are your own God, in essence. Right? You decide whatever you want to do. Yes or no? You are the rule maker. You are the law maker. Right? You feel like going out. You go out. Who's stopping you? You want to take drugs? No problem. Who's stopping you? Yeah? Society may at large say that is wrong, but we see what's happening in society. Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to work it out Just go to parks and you will see what's happening. Somebody sitting there with an injection. Yes. And it's just, we see it. We feel embarrassed sometimes taking our children in case they see this, and we have to explain what this is about when a child is too young to get exposed to these kind of things. But we see this. We see this in town centers. There's somebody in a corner, unfortunately. We see open drinking, people drunk, people vandalizing things. Yeah, people just doing whatever they want in open society. Yes or no? And then people are going beyond that, isn't it? Going beyond that, where laws are being changed, where once upon a time the law stated something to be wrong. Now what's happening? Oh, why is that wrong? If two people want to do these kind of things, what's wrong with you? Why not? And let people do whatever they want to do. There's no governing of anything. We just change rules as we go along, isn't it? I'm sure we understand what I'm talking about. People want to do whatever it is they want to do, and they want to fulfill their desires. They want to live a life of no restriction. So this is what leads to the moral fabric of society becoming destroyed, and that's what we're seeing progressively happening. And obviously the internet age, the devices age, has accelerated that so much. You know, just talking earlier on as well, the internet age has accelerated so much everything. Like, for example, you know, before we used to have people with addictions, yeah? Or we had people that used to overspend, yeah? We used to have people that overeat, yeah? We had all of that, right? But now you've got that multiplied so much time, so much more. Why? Because you just sit on your phone and order whatever you want, isn't it? You scroll and you've downloaded this app now, Timu or whatever else you've added, yeah? And you're just scrolling and you're like, oh, that's nice as well. Oh, that'll be useful as well. Oh, that's nice as well. Oh, I got offer. They'll send you an offer. Yeah, notification. You got 5% off, 20% off, this much. Oh, I got this offer. I need to use this offer, yeah? So what we would do is spend, overspend. And don't worry, it's fine. You can pay in installments. There's no problem if you don't have the money right now. So you get used to living on credit like this. And it's encouraged to live on credit like this. Otherwise you won't have a credit score as well. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that what happens, so you see the internet age, the device age has accelerated the problems so much. It's like a catalyst thrown into it. And it's expounded problems far beyond what we can see. And our children, our next generation, are going to live that time. And it's up to us to do something about it, inshallah, yes? So, you know, just to give you a stat, right, this is a very easy stat that I found, that 2 out of 3 Canadian and US Muslims, we're talking about Muslims, yeah? And we're not far off, okay? Between the ages of 17 and 35 engaged in pre-marital sex. This is those that were brave enough to admit it on a survey. Obviously it's an anonymous survey, but those who are actually going to put down, others are going to lie about it, right? But this is what, 2 out of 3, damning figures, no? And of the remaining 1/3, out of the remaining 1/3, 50% of them said they strongly considered it as well. They just stopped themselves. So how much does it leave for those people who are actually able to control themselves? We all know, right? Very difficult. Yes. So this only obviously points to one thing. Obviously we're not far off in the UK, because obviously our blind following of the US and glamorization of US lifestyle, sitcoms and whatever else that people are watching, and social media following, and, you know, celebrities and all sorts of things, lifestyle, that's the lifestyle a person wants to live. So it's glamorized, and it's the same that's going to eventually come here. So obviously this is because of the glorification of lewdness, of fulfilling one's desires, the exposure that there is, the rife exposure. Anyone can just go on to whatever they want to do, view whatever they want to in the privacy, yeah, and you won't even know. They may be sitting somewhere in the same room as you perhaps, but you won't know what they're doing. Yes, it's crazy. So the situation is obviously likely to get worse unless we do something about it. So we must, as elders or as people who understand that we have some sort of responsibility, we must act. Stop feigning ignorance. And I always say, parents, stop feigning ignorance. It's not like you were young once upon a time. It's not like you don't know what your child is going through. Right? Everyone knows. It's that we just choose to ignore. And that's exactly what I was talking about. That look, at a time that we talked about where you told me that many of your grandparents got married at the ages of 17, 18, yes? Now tell me, the pull towards sin, towards sexual sins, was that more in their time or in our time now? Everyone agrees now, yes? How come at a time in their time when the pull towards all of those sins was less, they got married so early, yet at a time when the pull towards this haram is so much, such a strong pull, so many different ways of doing haram, yet we are pushing the age of halal marriage further?
I think it's a lot of, sorry to cut you off there as well, Shaykh. It's a lot of the parents' fault as well. What do I mean by that? It's very hard to get married these days, because what a lot of these parents are looking for now for their husbands and for their daughters to find someone that's got, lots of money in the bank, be able to buy straight away. Of course, it's going to make it more difficult. So the road to nikah is made very difficult, and the zina, unfortunately,
it's easy.
inaccessible.
That's why we're trying to promote facilitating marriage. That's exactly what we're talking about, exactly what you're talking about. That because marriage is becoming more and more difficult for various reasons, but we're making it more difficult. We're not helping it. So let's try to do things to try to help it. Right? So let's talk about that now. So we have to facilitate marriage. In our hyper-sexualized society, it is very important that marriage is facilitated. Obstacles are removed wherever possible. Parents should provide solutions to common barriers to marriage. Right? Obviously, we understand there are barriers. We're not saying there aren't. But we need to offer solutions to them. And let's try to discuss them. For example, I'll call these excuses, because I call them excuses because truly to me they are excuses if you don't want to overcome them. So, for example, these are things that people say, yeah? People say that I don't feel ready. I don't feel I'm ready to commit to a marriage like this. Yeah? Some people are like that. Some, they feel they're too young. Maybe the parents feel they're too young. Yeah, I have so many students, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. They come to me and they say, I want to get married because I want to protect myself. Yeah, they're studying Sharia now, they're studying Deen. And as they study Deen, they don't want to get involved in sin. They have that concern. So they come to me and they say, I want to get married. My father's saying no. My father's saying, no, not now. You're too young. My mother's saying no. They brush it off. They don't even let me speak beyond that. They don't even, not even an entertainment or conversation. It's not like, okay, what's happening to you? Let's talk it through. These are my concerns. This is why I'm saying you're too young. Nothing like that. Just complete dismissal. Yes or no? This is not the right way. You can't completely dismiss their feelings. They're going through something. We need to discuss with them. If you feel they're too young, then talk to them about it. Try to understand how they're feeling and try to facilitate something here. Right, now, hasn't completed studies. Finish your studies first. Yeah? Oh, then after you finish studies, okay, I'll finish my studies now, get a job first. Then you get a job, is that now, have some savings first. Yeah, you need to have some savings in your bank. Who's going to pay for your wedding? You want to go on a honeymoon? Who's going to pay for all of that? You have some savings first. And now what? Put a deposit down on the house. Have some security. You need to put a deposit down. Yes or no? One by one, pushing the age. Where is this youngster going to go? Besides haram, where are they going to go? Day by day, daily, shaitan is pulling them. Nafs is pulling them every day. Yeah? Where they're going to go one moment, one lapse, one slip, and it's finished in it. They've gone now. They've gone into this route of what haram and zina. Now they've tasted that. What's going to happen? That's it. They're going to get hooked. They're going to keep asking. They're not going to keep asking for that. Keep asking for that. And the more they ask for it, the stronger the pathway to that is going to get. And the harder it will be to break that now. Because you've made that so strong. You did it once. There's only one thread between you and that thing. The more you do it, the more you do it, the more you do it, that pathway becomes really strong. That's why an addict to anything is very difficult for them to come out of it. Why? Because the pathway from them for his brains that to that pleasure that they felt when they did that thing, whatever it was, it's become so strong that their brain is constantly asking for that pleasure. So they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves, they end up doing it. They don't want to do it, but they still end up doing it. This is what happens. So this is what we're leading our youngsters into. Right, another excuse, I say, is little savings, right? You don't have enough savings. Right, you say, doesn't have our own home yet, and doesn't have a job yet. So these are generally, we're talking about excuses that a person, obviously, unfortunately, these are things that we're not facilitating for. So how can we facilitate for them? Look, give me an example, right? So a righteous young man who doesn't have a job could be offered assistance in choosing a career path, right? Therefore, simply not having a job is not good enough reason. Let me explain to you what I mean by this one. So, alhamdulillah, I teach, and I teach men as well as women. So when I from amongst one of the sisters that I taught, the father knows me. I've got a relationship with the father from before. I didn't know this was his daughter, but eventually I found out. Anyway, so she finished, she graduated. So the father one day phones me and says, oh, you know, just chit chat, and then he says that I've got a proposal that's come for my daughter, and you've taught her for 2 years. So you've taught her for 2 years. What do you think of the proposal? Because the proposal was from a family that I knew as well. So he knew that I know them. So he said, what do you think? I said, oh, mashallah, very good. So he was a scholar, young scholar, that just graduated as well. And he had taken up a imamat role. He's now an imam in a masjid. And as we all know, an imam is not super dollar rich, right? He's not getting the big wage, right? He's going to have to do some side hustle to try to even make ends meet. So he's an imam. So first I didn't get where he was coming from. And remember, this brother who's phoned me, the father of this girl, he's mashallah quite well off. So he's from rich family, rich background, mashallah, businessman, and he's quite well off. Anyway, so he called me, he says this, that, you know. So I said to him that mashallah, he's a very good person. As far as I know him. He's a very gentle person, he's very kind-hearted. I gave him what I knew. And I thought that this person will be able to keep your daughter happy, mashallah. I feel as though. So then he says to me, yeah, but he's an imam, innit? He's an imam. I was like, what do you mean it? But he's an imam. Yeah, but he's an imam, innit? He doesn't earn much. So I was like, oh, okay. So I was taken back by a bit, obviously. So I was like, okay, but he's an imam. If you get your daughter married to him, he'll be your son-in-law, right? He's your son-in-law now. So I'm sure you can invest a little bit in your son-in-law, right? I'm sure you got plenty of business ideas, you're a businessman, that you will be able to execute. Give him one of those business ideas and tell him, Peter, son, you know, I've got this business idea for some time. I haven't been able to do it because I'm busy in my business. You do it, and I'll inject some cash into it, right? If you don't want to give it to him, give it to him, invest it in him, or give it to him as a loan, right? Give him this money as a loan, tell him when you earn this much, you pay me back. I'm sure you can do that for your son-in-law and your daughter, no? Makes sense to me. Why wouldn't you do that? So eventually, he didn't quite agree, right? He was like, no, I don't know if he'll be able to. You know, my daughter, I've brought her in a certain way. I don't know if he'll be able to. So I didn't want to force it. Because obviously if I force it, something goes wrong, it's on me, innit? So I said, that's up to you at the end of the day. Your decision, you're the father. I'm not the father. I can only give my opinion. So eventually he didn't get his daughter married to this sheikh, this brother. Nevertheless, his daughter did get married. His daughter got married to somebody else who was, mashallah, quite well off, wealthy as well, wealthy background. His daughter got married. Now, obviously the daughter keeps in touch here and there when she comes to see me. So she, mashallah, she had a child, but her pregnancy was very complicated, and unfortunately her health, took quite bad turn in terms of, because of the pregnancy and everything. So she had the child, mashallah, but her health was quite damaged. So she couldn't do basic tasks, daily tasks. She couldn't cook anymore here and there and things like this. So the husband tried to help her how much he could, but eventually got to a stage where husband couldn't do it anymore. They were living alone, they were living separately in their own home. So husband says, look, I can't do this anymore. I need to run my business. Because he was a businessman. He was seeing his business taking a hit because he's now a lot more at home. So he says, look, my business is taking a hit. I need to start doing that. So if you can't get any help from anyone, then I recommend you go to your mum's house. Your mum will be able to give you that right help. So you go to your mum's house, I'll drop you off there, and I'll come see you. We'll spend time together. For 2 years, for the last 2 years, that's how they're living. That's how she's living. Now you tell me, is that way to live? She's come back to her father's home. They're living with her. They're looking after her. Husband's, mashallah, his concern is his business. But my concern to this father is, this is what you did to your daughter, isn't it? You got your daughter married to somebody who's rich, whose concern is money. His primary concern is money. So he's going to put his wife on the side, isn't he? He's going to put his own daughter on the side. Because to him, I'm earning for them. I'm providing a future for them. So to his mind, he's justified. But obviously to the onlooker, anybody that would be looking at this is not right, isn't it?
So Nabi Allah Muhammad mentions in the hadith that if you reject a righteous man for marriage, there'll be corruption in the land.
Corruption. And this is exactly what we see, isn't it? Yeah. And to me, it hurt my heart. Because this is a student of mine. I have concern for them. And I felt so sorry for her. That she's going through this now because maybe a bad decision of her father. But I didn't want to say that. But in my heart I'm feeling this, right? And I'm only expressing this to yourselves. I'm not expressing that to her or to her father or anything, because it's rubbing salt over wounds. There's no need for it. But had the father listened, then I'm pretty sure the daughter would have been taken care of much better. Right? Because you need somebody that understands the responsibility here. Somebody who understands that I've got my wife here, in trying to give birth to my child. This is, her health has gone south. It is my responsibility as well, not just hers. It's just unfortunate. But these are things I'm trying to explain to you. That look, if we see somebody who will keep our daughter happy for the rest of her life, even if it means that he may not have a job yet, he may not have a career yet, he may not have some savings yet, he may not have a house yet, but we've lived life enough. Can we not help out? If we can't help out by giving money, can we not help out? Okay, look, this is a job that's going. I'll help you fill out the job application. I'll prepare you for the interview. You're going to go for the interview. Make sure you say this, say that. This is what they're looking for. Prepare him for the job interview so he gets that job. Isn't it a solution? So this is what I'm talking about. That there are solutions. Why do you want fully baked bread? That's what we're looking for, isn't it? Full baked bread so we can sit there and eat it. I'm afraid if you're waiting for that, you may not get it to the liking of yours. It may not be baked to your liking. It may be a bit too much. It may be a bit too less. But if you went out there and got that little part baked, yes or no? Part baked, what can you do to it now? You bake it as you like. You can foam it, you can mold it. So if you go get somebody for your son or for your daughter or for yourselves as well, somebody who's not fully formed yet, not fully matured yet, not fully on their feet yet, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. Why? Because you will learn together. And I'm telling you, this is primarily one of the biggest reasons why Rasulullah ﷺ loved Aisha radiallahu anha the most. Why did Prophet ﷺ love Aisha radiallahu anha the most? Why? Because she was young. She hadn't formed her opinions yet. She hadn't become a woman yet. Who did she form opinions with? Who did she learn about life with? With Rasulullah, yes or no? With her husband. So what happened now? Her opinions will become in line with her husband's opinions, no? So then what will happen? There's harmony. Because they think on the same wavelength. Does that make sense to you? If you get somebody who's old, now they're set in their way. Isn't it? They're set in life. They like their things like this. Now you're getting married to this person who's set in life, and you're also set in life. What's going to happen now? Clash. Constant clashing. Why? Because you don't like some things a certain way. They don't like it this way. You're going to have to now compromise. There's going to be a lot more compromising to do in this marriage now. So do we see what the problems are? So the solution simply is, yes, get them married younger. If you see certain problems, if you see that they're not ready because of this, because of that, because of this, solve those problems. Solve those problems. I tell people, once a mother came to me and her daughter wanted to get married to this boy. They were cross culture. So that's why the boy that wanted to get married to this girl, he initially came to me and said, "Oh, Shaykh, I want to get married to this girl, but their parents are not allowing it." My parents are allowing it. Yeah, I've made them understand. Initially they didn't, but alhamdulillah they've come round and my parents are okay with it now. But her parents are still not understanding. So normally I say to the brother, no problem, let me see what I can do. Let me talk to them. Right? And then I try to talk to them. The mother says to me, it's not because of the cross culture that I'm not allowing it. The reason I'm not allowing it is because I believe my daughter is not ready for marriage. If my daughter gets married, she's so immature. If she gets married, I can guarantee you within 6 months she'll come back home. She will come back home. He will not be able to live with her because she's too immature. I'm like, what? But she's an age. She's like 20 now. And I'm like, why is she not ready though? Why is it that she's not ready? And I'm dealing with cases. I'll give you examples. I'm dealing with a marriage case. I have counseling sessions. I've got a husband and wife sitting in front of me. And the husband is complaining of the wife that she doesn't know anything. I'm like, what do you mean she doesn't know anything? It's a bit of an exaggeration. It's like, no, Shaykh, you don't understand. She doesn't even know how to make tea. That's what he says to me. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm thinking in my head that, okay, she doesn't know how to make Indian tea. Okay, maybe some people have never made Indian tea before, so maybe she doesn't know how to do it. And I was like, just show her it. He goes, no, you don't understand. She doesn't even know how to make English tea. I'm like, what? What do you mean? English tea? Just boil a kettle, put it into the tea bag and that's it. What's the... And she's looking down in embarrassment. She's embarrassed. I'm like, why did that happen? It's because every day when she would be getting ready upstairs to go college, to go whatever, it'd be mum making the tea, mum getting everything ready, and when everything's ready, better I come down, and all they do, come down, have it, and go. What have they seen? Nothing. So when now she's in this situation, she's like, what do I do? What do I do? When do I put... So she's like struggling, and the husband's so frustrated. What do you mean? Just turn the kettle on. Okay, then next what do I do? Get a tea bag, put in the cup. Okay, then next what? Oh my gosh, what am I teaching her? I'm teaching her ABCD. Did you see the point? The frustration. Why? It's because if we're not allowing our children to mature, we're not allowing our children that independence. We're doing everything for them. Then they're not going to be ready, innit? They're not going to be ready at 25. I'm dealing with 29-year-olds. 29-year-old, and he's still, in his head, he's a 13-year-old. I'm looking at 13-year-old. No joke. He's 29 years old. He doesn't understand responsibility at all. His younger brother's telling him. He's telling me his younger brother came to me to say, can you help my brother? He's addicted to this gaming. He's just gaming all day, online. He's building this character of his. He's just gaming. That's all he does. He can't keep a job. Why? Because he games till 4 a.m. He has his marathon runs, and then he wakes up so late, he rushes into work, he's late. He gets a few warnings, and then they have to release him. He's in his probation period, right? Then he looks for another job. He gets it. Again, same story. Can you see constantly? He can't keep a job because he's still a little child, 13-year-old playing games. He doesn't understand his responsibility. Do you see? Because the responsibility hasn't been put onto them. We have to put responsibility to them. If father or mother, every time the child is going out, yeah, I see this all the time, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, yeah, and they're going out without their coat zipped up. So mum will come, better put this coat on, and they will zip it up for them. So no, wait. Let them do it. Let them do it themselves. Tell them, it's cold outside, put your zip up. Right? Let them understand responsibility. Let them do it themselves. Shoelaces, teach them. Let them do the shoelace. Right? If you don't tell them, teach them independence in this way, they will never mature up. They will never mature up. So these are basic things that we have to get them doing when they're younger. So when they get to the age where we know now that they can be getting married. Why is it that our grandparents were able to get married at 17 or 18? Because they understood responsibility. When we were younger, when we were 12, we had to do paper round. Yes or no? Come on, who does that now? You have to go earn. You have to go earn a little bit of money. Yes or no? And even that money that you got, if your parents were not earning much, your parents would have taken that money from you. They're well done, thank you. And your parents take that money because they need to pay bills. They need to pay your maths book. They need to pay for your textbook. They need to pay for this. Yes or no? This is the life that people, this is when you understand responsibility. Now what happens? Child, £10, can I have £10? There you go. Can I buy a new game? How much is the game? £50, £30? No problem. Just like that. No sense of responsibility. No understanding. Yes or no? And when they don't get the easy cash like that, what will they do? They'll go out, start doing crime. Yes or no? Easy money. Easy money. That's what they'll do. Isn't that what we see? They'll go out and snatch phones, go sell it on the black market. Yeah, they'll go out and deal a bit of drugs. Easy money coming in. Yes or no? This is what they'll do. Why is it that they're doing these things? We have to understand, we have to teach them responsibility. Anyway, we're digressing. Point I was simply trying to make is simple. Where we see the problem, where we think that they're not ready because of this reason, that reason, this reason, facilitate them. Make ease. When the right time comes, then we then get them married. Not with that pushing the age of marriage further and further away. Does that make sense? It's a simple thing, yes?
So let's say someone's afflicted with that disease of not knowing responsibility, or let's say another reasonable excuse for not getting married. How do we fix that?
Yeah, it's obviously fixing things when things weren't put right from the beginning are a bit more trickier. One thing is very important in fixing things is that there has to be willingness from the person. It's a lost cause when the person doesn't understand, that there's no willingness. So what you have to start from is making them understand why it's important that they do this.
What about willingness without taking action?
That's fine, as long as there's willingness. The reason why there's no action is because the steps that they're perhaps being told to do are not realistic for them. It's too hard for them. So you have to gradually, it's baby steps. You have to start them off onto baby steps, things that they can do. And then when they start doing things, the ball starts rolling, then eventually it's like you can let go of their hand now. You don't have to hold them anymore. But at the beginning, it's a struggle. It is painstaking effort that you have to make at the beginning. But you have to find those baby steps for them to be able to, inshallah, cure. But inshallah, we'll save that.
An example of this as well. One of my good friends who's a white brother like myself, convert brother like myself, and he's from Oxford originally, and he was working as like a manager for a game workshop. The wage wasn't good. He was a manager. It's like he wasn't a good wage at all. And he was looking to get married, and he finally finds a sister through ways that you may or may not agree with, apps, whatever. But he finds a sister that he obviously likes, whatever. Dad was to say no. Dad was saying no. It's South Asian background. Like, nah, you're not. No, I can't because you're not a doctor, not this, not engineer, not this and that. Not happening whatsoever. But then he finally came round and alhamdulillah got married, and they were struggling for. I've known this brother for about 8 years, and mashallah, he's moved from this 2 bedroom house. Guess where he lives? He doesn't live in Hijrah, he's gone to Bahrain. He's got
Mashallah, you see?
he's got 2 apartments, and so one's for his office. So it just shows, brothers, honestly, like if you've got a daughter or somebody that wants to get married, and there's a brother that might not be all the way there yet, there's always a lot of advertising, one that provides that risk. But like something like that,
100%. Very good, very good. Jazakallah for sharing that with us. So, remember, I'm not saying that we become irresponsible and rush into marriage. Yeah, obviously, if they're not ready for marriage, don't do it, but solve the problems is the point, okay? And this is the main thing that we have to understand from here, inshallah. Now, try to keep up, inshallah. This is just for those people who are looking for marriage. Normally people ask for du'as. What can I read to when I'm looking for marriage? So this is something very, very Quranic dua, obviously. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. As you can see, the meaning there, very connected, very much important in terms of looking for a spouse. Yeah, that you're looking for a spouse, and Allah Ta'ala will give you somebody who will be the coolness and comfort of your eyes. This is another dua, رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا, Quranic dua, وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. That, as you can see the meaning here, oh my Lord, do not leave me single. This is primarily a dua which is for children. Yeah, this is a dua when you don't want to be alone, meaning you want to have progeny. Obviously, this is where the Prophet obviously made dua for. But you can't have children without being married, right? So that's the idea behind this, that you're making a dua here to have children, inshallah. So Allah will ta'ala, inshallah, will find you the right partner. Then, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir, that, oh my Lord, I am in need of any goodness you may send down upon me. Okay? I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break. Just need to use the loo, inshallah. And I'll leave this du'as there for you. You can take a picture or look at the meaning, inshallah, as well, yeah?
students from Basel. I think they're Bengali though.
Yeah.
What's his name? Saeed or something? He looks much Spanish. So I don't think I've met you either, brother. What's your name? Mubashir. Are you local as well? Yeah. In where? Oh, Hexford. Okay, that's what I thought.
What's your name?
Zakaria. So I'm originally from London, so I'm still here.
Okay.
So I was studies from London as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, much better than you quite some time now. And is my spouse's teacher. So yeah, that's how I got to know who he was basically. And he's Mona Eddie. So he was his teacher for a period as well. Yeah. So there's that age gap. So we hope to see you guys more.
That's the first workshop.
So how did you come across it then?
I used to bad timing for the other ones. This was bad. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, it's good.
That's what I said.
So you married, you actually did that.
I'm due to get married later this year.
Did you wife from them?
No. He's doing that next time.
Oh, okay. No longer busy, sure.
Let's see, man. We always need stuff like this, especially with marriage. Marriage is probably the core of our society. Anything related to family is also marriage. Literally the background of our society as well. Nice seeing you, man. Take care. Inshallah, roughly. The responsibility was. I don't know. And then it's gone as really so how I wanted to have an account, but I don't know what the deals of this thing.
Inshallah, we'll carry on. So, to discuss where to look. So where would you start looking if you were wanting to get married? First thing you do is look in family circles, meaning you tell your family members. So you tell parents, and if you tell somebody who's close to your family, if you can't tell your parents directly, then you tell, for example, your older brother or sister or an uncle or an auntie that's close to you, who can then discuss with your parents if you can't discuss to parents directly. But some people can't approach their parents directly, unfortunately. So that's fine, it's no problem. You can approach somebody who is able to approach your family. But obviously the first thing is important that you tell your family members, the immediate family. Why? Because unfortunately what happens nowadays a lot of times is somebody, a young person is looking to get married, they want to get married, but parents don't know at all. Yeah, so now, when I say before, I talked about this before, that if a child, if your son or daughter wants to get married, then facilitate for them. So many parents come to me afterwards and they say, look, I'm ready to get them married, but they don't come to me. They went off and done some, relationship outside of marriage with somebody. They're in a relationship. When I ask them, they don't tell me. And now they want to get married to that person. Every time I used to tell them about marriage, they used to say no to me. And the reason they used to say no to me was because they were interested in somebody else already. Right? So that's where we're trying to balance it out here. That it's important that we also tell our family, if we want to get married, to tell them, in order to make sure that they know about it, so they can start looking for us, keep an eye out for us. Obviously, if you haven't already found somebody, the point is that if you were already looking, then we should have told our family members already about this. There's sometimes what happens is, when you tell the next, it goes hand in hand. After family, you tell your immediate friends. So if you have a friend circle, you tell amongst your friends that I'm looking to get married. Reason being is because sometimes a friend's a means of connecting you with somebody. Sometimes a friend considers you to be a very good person and says, you know what, you'd be really good for my sister, or for my cousin's sister, or for a neighbor or somebody I know. Right? So that friend becomes a means of connecting people like this. So it's important to broaden the scope like this, not just tell your family, immediate family, but then to tell your friends as well. Okay, the ones who trust, and you can tell these kind of people. Then you broaden even more, you tell local scholars. So many times, as a scholar locally, many people approach me, especially many fathers in the masjid after salah will approach me and will say, oh, my daughter, can you keep an eye out for her? If you see anybody potential, then tell me, let me know. Likewise, my son, can you keep an eye out for them? So yeah, so many times imams of masjids, scholars in the masjid will be approached. They'll be approached and they would have some people who they may already have in mind. So if you tell them, this person becomes a means of connecting you with potential spouses. So approaching them, sometimes a masjid can also have like a database, right? We know in London there's masjids, bigger masjids, that they do have databases. Obviously many of these now have become paid services where you pay to be on the database, but there was a time, and there are some masjids that do have their own private little one, right? It's just a matter of you finding out, or you actually telling them, and then they may tell you. So they may tell you, okay, no problem, I'll have a look, and they go and check on their database, and they will present to you who they can present to you. So this is local scholars. Likewise, you can go to marriage networks. So marriage networks across social media, like WhatsApp groups. There are WhatsApp groups that are for people who are looking for potentials. So you can go onto them. There may be certain matchmakers in societies, in cultures, amongst cultures. You have a person who is known to be the matchmaker, right? They're the one who knows all of the people. So many people come to them and they have so many CVs, right? And they will give you the CV. So you have to go to find that person in amongst your community, in amongst the culture, that who's the matchmaker here. And then this person matchmakes a lot. So some people, mashallah, they have time and they do these kind of things to help out people. And lastly, we talked about matrimonial websites. So obviously, when we're talking about matrimonial websites, you have to proceed with caution, as we're talking about. There has to be caution, because not all Muslim matrimonial websites actually work within the boundaries of Sharia. As we know, as those people who know about it will know, that unfortunately many of them are not in accordance to the Sharia. So you have to be careful. So that's why this next part, just to give you a bit of guidance in terms of if you're looking at a matrimonial website, because you want to broaden your horizon, right? You want to broaden the amount of proposals you could have potentially, and you're finding it hard, right? And it is not easy. So what do? You need to make sure that this website meets this general criteria I'm giving you. One is that it requires an involvement of a guardian, a wali. Not that somebody can just make their own profile. They can sign up themselves. They can post themselves and do whatever there is. No. Then there's alarm bells here. Yeah, you need to have some sort of guardian. Then you can see, oh, okay, tick box. This website looks a bit decent. Another thing, there are verified profiles. Profiles that they've got there are verified. Not that anyone can make any profile, and it turns out that afterwards when you check, it's actually not the same person. Doesn't look like nothing like them. They're 10 years older, you know, and everything else that you find out, because everything else they put on there, anyone can put whatever they want. So it has to be verified profiles. Likewise, profile pictures and contact details are kept confidential. They're not shared. Yeah, they're not shared immediately. Okay, and if at a certain stage details are shared, it's only shared with the walis, with the guardians, not directly with the people involved, not the potentials. That's very important. And it is developed in collaboration with Arabic scholars. They should have somebody on board. If they don't have somebody on board, they do consult somebody, a scholar, that to make sure that they're within the boundaries of Sharia, the services that they're offering. Okay? So, if you have this, and obviously a reasonable cost, if it's all of these tick boxes, then you're okay. Generally speaking, this website seems to be okay. Okay? So just giving you some guidance as to what to look out for when you're looking at websites. Just to give you some examples, this is Sunnah Nikah, run by scholars that we know, many people will here know, it's colleagues of mine as well. MashaAllah, they have started off this amazing service. It started off very organically first, just wanting to matchmake people, right, and then slowly it's developed into something which is worldwide now. They have, you know, people in America, in Canada, in so many different places, different parts of Europe as well, where, mashallah, they're matchmaking for. So they've got literally tens of thousands of people on their database. Tens of thousands. So it's just a matter of you putting into the questions that you put into the questions the correct information, then the program will filter out the right people for you, and then it will give you certain, you know, potentials that meet the criteria which you've answered. That I'm looking for this kind of a person, this kind of a person, this, that. You know, they ask you height, build, education, whatever. Ask you everything. Right? You fill in everything and it will give you according to your criteria. Does that make sense? So like that, many people have found matches, mashallah. So this is a great service that I do say that they have facilitated. They have different services. They have a free service. They have a paid service. They have a premium service as well. It's up to a person what you want to do. I'm not promoting this service, nothing to do with me. But I'm just telling you because this is something, because I'm talking to you about it. So I'm just guiding you towards someone who actually does it right. And just to make sure that I'm not being partial towards them or impartial towards them too much, I'll just give you another one as well, which I don't know about. I mean, I know that East London Masjid run this one, al-ihsanmarriage.co.uk. So this is something that if person wants to go ahead, they've got a database, right, and they will obviously match people up. But it's a paid service. I do know this much. So it's up to a person what they want to do, but the general criteria I gave you before, the bullet points I gave you before, if you go onto a website, just make sure it matches those. If you're doing direct connection with somebody, yeah, then there's alarm bells there, right? Direct connection is a people make excuses, right? The excuses, shaitan will, I'm telling you, shaitan will tell you that it's fine, and you just get to know them first a bit. And if they are, if this promise, then you take it to your parents. Why you can take it to your parents like every time? That's the thing. That's just the justification. But by the time it gets to there, it's already become haram. They've met so many times. Yeah, so many times they've met in private as well. It's unfortunate these kind of things happen. So we don't want to go down that route. Okay, you don't want to lead yourself in the route of haram. So be careful when you're going through matrimonial websites. So that was all about where to look. So we talked about when to look. When do you start looking? We've talked about a lot of detail there. We talked about where to look. Where do you find a potential? Next, we'll talk about what to look for. Now, obviously, this is going to be a great deal of detail that we need to discuss. What to look for. Ultimately, again, we turn to guidance given to us by our Sharia. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in a hadith that تُنْكَهُ الْمَرْأَةُ لِأَرْبَعٍ, that a woman is married for 4 reasons. Okay? Generally speaking, people marry for 4 reasons. Obviously, Prophet here is talking to men, so he's going to say women are married for this reason. If he was talking to women, he would say men are married for this reason. There's no difference. It's just a matter of addressing who is addressing here. So obviously, marriage happens. Why? Because of either wealth status. We're marrying people of the same wealth status as us to keep society, to keep that name in society. So people marry because of wealth, right? And we see that, right? We see that amongst people who are wealthier. Then people marry because of family background. So people marry why? Because I'm from a certain family background. So I need to keep face in front of everybody. So I need to marry, make sure that somebody is same caste, same family background as us. And people marry because of this caste system. Yes? So some people marry because of family. And some people marry because of beauty. Yeah, some people, or handsomeness, people fall in love and they marry because of that. And some people marry because of religiosity put into play first. Meaning this person is pious. This person understands the deen, they're God-fearing. So they marry because of that. So then Prophet says that give preference, فَضْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَكَ. They give preference to piety. Give preference to this last one and become successful. So, idea here, we understood, isn't it? Idea here is that there are various reasons why people will marry. We have to try our best to put certain things in priority. Now obviously, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam no doubt here says encouragement to us that give priority to religion. But I always say to people, be real with yourself. Be real. Be honest. Be truthful. Meaning, if your number one priority is not religion, then why are you putting it there for fake reason, just to make yourself feel happy? Yeah, why putting it there as number one? It's not your number one priority. It's not, is it? It should be. And if you think it should be, then do something about it, right? Does that make sense? But if your number one priority is something else, then be real in it. Be real about it. Because why I'm saying that is because I deal with people. Yeah, unfortunately, I've dealt with a lot of youngsters who come to me afterwards, after they get married, 6 months into their marriage. And they come to me afterwards, they say, you know what, I don't really like my wife. And what do you mean? I said, she's really good, she's pious, this and that, but I don't like the way she looks. And I, didn't you see her before you got married to her? Yeah, we sat for hours, we had 2 interviews. So why did you go and get married to her then? I thought that it'll grow on me, and I thought that, you know, maybe she'd be good for my children. That's why, you know, because she's got a religion in her. So, but it's just not happening for me. Every time I go out, I'm still looking at other women. Yeah, I'm looking what I could have had. I'm thinking all sorts of things. I'm like, what are you doing now, isn't it? You're ruining somebody's life. Why do you get married to this bitch, this poor woman, that you got married to now, and now you're telling me you want to divorce her because you've come to me, because the reason he's come to me is he wants me to tell him that divorce her. So it justifies in his head that, oh, Shaykh told me divorce her, so it's fine now, let me divorce her. That's why he's come to me. I'm not going to give him that justification. You married her, yeah, you did that now, take the responsibility. Like, well, get on with it now. You know, understand that this is a person, you're not playing with somebody's life here. That's why I'm saying, before somebody gets married, be real. If beauty matters to you as your number one, then put it as your number one then, isn't it? Yeah? But then obviously you're not following the guidance of Prophet. We get that. But it's guidance at the end of the day. What you should be doing is giving preference to your religion, because that's long lasting. Beauty will fade away. Right? This is something we need to understand. But youngsters not going to understand that. Right? The elders who are much wiser will understand. Right? But a young person, try to make them understand that beauty fades away is very difficult to understand. So anyway, point being, what people marry for various reasons, right? That, okay, we'll talk about this a bit more in detail realistically, how does that play a part for us? But this is guidance from hadith. So now there are certain traits which a person can judge before they actually meet with the person. So before you go and meet a person, certain traits you want to judge. Okay, for example, let's say what education they've had. If that matters to you, what level of education they've had, if it's religious education, they've studied this much in religion, or whether it's, secular sciences, you want them to have a degree. Yeah, you want them because I've got a degree, I've got a doctorate, so I want them to have studied this much at least. That's up to you, no problem, if that's your thing. But you don't have to meet them and then ask them over a meeting. Find out before. Ask people about her or him, right? And ask around and find out before you go ahead and go get a meeting set up. So this is what I'm talking about here. Likewise, if their wealth status matters to you, find out before, isn't it? This is something you can find out from before. Likewise, if their career matters to you, what kind of career they've got, if that matters to you, then find out about this from before. If their physique matters to you, then this is again something which you can find out from before. And then if their family, what kind of family are they from? If that matters to you, then find out from people, what kind of family are they? Right? Because I'm getting married into this family, I want to know what kind of upbringing this person would have had. So find out from before these things. Okay? A lot of people, why I say this is because some people, they don't find out these things. They go for the meeting and immediately they're already saying no. And it's like, why did you do all this big facade, like getting together? It's a big effort. Getting together, people being, culturally, some people even bring gifts. So people, you have to get dressed up. It's a whole day you have to take out. If it's far away, you have to drive all the way there. All that has to happen, right? Other people have to take time out to come with you as well. They have to take time out. Everyone, all of that is needed. But it's because you don't like, for example, something, you didn't like their education, or you don't like their wealth status. You couldn't find out before. Why didn't you find out before? Does that make sense? So these are things to bear in mind. Let's give you a simple incident of this. Just last week, I was speaking to somebody, and they said that they got a proposal that came, and the first thing they came in, they said, they came in and they started looking at the house. They're looking at, and they were like, oh, have you got work going on? They were like, have you got work going on in the house? There was no work going on in the house. That's just the way the house is. They're not so well off, right? So they can't afford to keep their house, looking tip-top, right? They get by. So the person explaining to me the story afterwards is like, all he kept doing, he came in and just looking around everywhere. He's looking at everything, and he's saying, have you got work going on? Oh, you must have work going on, isn't it? Oh, okay, like that. And whilst they were driving back on their way, they already gave the answer no. So they had the meetings and made everything done. And they were going back home. They never even reached home yet. They already gave the answer no. And they said, I know why. Because of our wealth status. So they said, couldn't they find out from before? Couldn't they find out from before our wealth status is from the society, from community, from people? Why did they have to go through all this long thing? So this is what I'm talking about. that certain things can be found out from before. Now, what to look for beyond this, meaning when you are going to go for a meeting now. So now you're going to go for a meeting, what are you going to judge? So there are certain things that you need to look out for. Obviously, one is character. Yes, character, the honesty, modesty, generosity, etc. You got their personality. Yeah, what kind of person they are. Yeah, are they extrovert, introvert? What kind of hobbies? Likes, dislikes? Are they an optimistic person? Are they a pessimistic person? You know, are they positive? They have a positive approach to life. What kind of person are they? What kind of personality do they have? Then you got beauty. Obviously, you judge that because you see it. You're going to be in the meeting. You judge that. Right. Likewise, the level of piety, something which you're going to have to judge, because that's from the hadith, right? So you're going to have to judge that level of religiosity. Main thing is it's similar to you in mindset. Something we're going to have to work out. But I'll tell you how to do that, inshallah. But these are things that we're going to do. And lastly, you're going to try to judge their mindset. Yeah, do they meet a similar mindset to yours? So, everybody, now I've said all of this. Out of these, what do you think is the most important? It could be anything you think. What is the most important, do you think?
I think character and religiosity go hand in hand.
Character and religiosity.
I think that's hand in hand.
Anybody else? You agree? Mindset. Anyone disagree? Anything else?
No, I think I disagree with mindset.
Mindset.
I disagree with that one.
Oh, you agree with character?
Yeah, probably that one. Yeah.
Religiosity.
Personality.
Personality. Okay, so we've got various opinions, yeah? Various.
So come on, we should be honest, man. We're men at the end of the day.
That's it.
It's there, 100%.
So, my opinion, let me explain my opinion. I agree with brother there. My opinion is that mindset matters the most. And let me explain why. Follow me, and then you can see whether you agree with me or not. Okay. So why do I say mindset is vital? Okay. Because some people believe that you get married to somebody and you can change them. I'll change their character, don't worry. Let me get married to them because I love them. People do that, right? They get married, they have a relationship. And we know that that's how people work. Yeah, they have relationships outside of marriage. And they can see that this person is not the same as me. But they love each other. Because they like the way they look, whatever. But their characters may not match. Their personalities might not match. There's conflict there. But they overlook that because it's high love. There's high love which masks all of that currently. Yes? You like the way they look, their beauty, it masks all of that currently. Yes? Like حُبُّكَ شَيْء يُعْمِي وَيُسِمْ. Yeah, when you love something, it makes you blind and deaf. So this is what happens. You are blind and deaf from their faults. But everyone has faults. So now what happens is, people think that they can change them after marriage. And I've talked to so many, countless people like this. That don't worry, I'll change them after marriage. I'm like, they're not the same piety level as you. Don't worry, it's fine. I'll change them after marriage. I'll manage that. And then after they get married, what happens? They're trying their best. And then they come to me. They're not praying the Fajr. They're not praying the Fajr. I'm waking them up. They're kicking off with me. They're fighting with me. They're swearing at me in their sleep. Yeah, and they say, leave me alone. Yeah. And then they followed one of them. Yeah, they followed the advice that was given in the hadith, that if your partner is not waking up, what do? Sprinkle water on them. So they went and followed the hadith like a literalist. So they went and got water, sprinkled it on their face, and what happens? Violence. Actual violence. They got up and they were violent. What else was going to happen? And they're like, I followed the hadith. No. That's not what the Prophet ﷺ meant here. You have to have a relationship first. Right? You have to have an understanding that this person, you broke me out of that spell. Oh, thank you very much. Not that, don't wake me up. I'm not getting up. I don't care. And then you're sprinkling water on them. They will fume, isn't it? Because they don't care. I'm afraid to say they don't care. They don't want to wake up for Fajr. Their sleep to them is more important than their Fajr. Does that make sense? Prophet ﷺ is talking about who? Somebody who understands that no, my Fajr is important. But they're in their slumber. They're completely gone. You put a bit of water on them, they wake up out of that and they're like, yeah, oh, thank you very much for waking me up. They will thank you. That's what Prophet was talking about. Not literalist who understands this hadith to be just beyond. So anyway, so what happens? People think they can change their partners. You can't change certain things. You're not going to manage that. So then what do you need? You need to marry somebody who is on your wavelength, who is already on the same mindset as you, right? So what I mean by that is, though you may not be necessarily at the same level of piety currently, because look, religiosity, that is how many of us, our levels of religiosity, our levels of piety is because of those who we are around. It's because of our company. Because we have been able to be exposed to those around us that we are exposed to, it allows us to be able to be that much more practicing, alhamdulillah. Yes or no? It's the influence. If somebody else that we're going to go get married to, they haven't had that exposure, it's simply that if they get the same exposure as us, they will be same as us, inshallah. Yes or no? But it's just they haven't had that. So they may be even better than us even, if they get that exposure like we do. Does that make sense? It's the environment that they haven't had. People have different upbringings, different atmosphere, environment around them. So this is why I have to appreciate that somebody's level of piety currently, or level of practice on religion currently, may not be the same as us. But their willingness to get there is there. How do you judge that is what I'm looking at, is their mentality. Does their mentality match yours? Do they have the same visions as you in life? Does that make sense? If their mindsets are very similar to yours, then you're heading down the same route. Does that make sense? This is what we're looking at here, and that's why I'm saying that mindset matters the most. This is what Rasulullah ﷺ, in fact, if you look at it from a deeper perspective, this is what he means when he says give preference to deen, meaning that diyanat, that understanding of how they're going to be practicing upon religion, not necessarily practice currently. Does that make sense? So most arguments, I say, most arguments and breakups even, they stem from incompatibility in mindset. There's incompatibility in mindset. Now what do I mean? You have various types of mindsets. So let's take a spectrum here. Let's do a bit of exercise to keep everyone entertained. I'd encourage the sisters as well to take part on the actual Slido in this particular session. It's up to you if you want to be engaged. But let's take a spectrum. For example, we have two different mindsets. One is traditional, the other is modern. And we can all understand that two different mindsets here. A traditional mindset versus a modern mindset. We're not saying one is right and the other one is wrong. Just because modern is right, it doesn't mean it's wrong, yeah? It's just colors, okay? Modern could be right and traditional can be right. And traditional can be wrong and modern can be wrong. It's absolutely up to you. How you are, you have to judge. If you yourself are a bit modern, you have to know that I'm a bit modern. It's fine, no problem. Yes?
What do you mean by traditional?
Traditional, like you hold true to certain traditions. I'll give you some examples and you'll see. So let's just remember this spectrum, and remember that we've got a scale from 1 to 10. So 1 being very traditional and 10 being very modern. Does that make sense? So just remember 1 to 10. Now we're just going to do a bit of exercise. Is there people on? You can just read it out when they say. Yeah? Okay, let's just... So let's say mindsets. Let's play a bit of a game here, yeah? Let's play a bit of matchmaker here. You're a matchmaker, yeah? So you've got Zaid here. Zaid wants a housewife. Yes? He wants a housewife, that's what he wants, who takes care of responsibilities at home, including taking care of basic needs of his parents even. Okay? Doesn't expect her to earn or contribute financially in any way. All the burden of earning will be upon him. This is Zaid. So what would you rate Zayd as?
Okay, so he's traditional, so I can rate him as traditional.
So you rate him as 1, 2, 3, 10, what? Let's put a number on him. 1, yeah? Everyone says 1? Maybe some people might say 2, I don't know, 1, 2, roughly there. But we get that he's very close to that traditional zone, yeah? Okay. So remember him. Now we've got here, Amina. Amina's the next person on your list. She is focused on her career. She believes that men and women should share all responsibilities, doesn't enjoy housework, but will do it when required. She enjoys going to the gym twice a week. Okay? So, what do you think, everybody? 8 and 10? 8. 8, okay. 8, yeah, okay. It's up to you. You can choose to disagree, no problem. You put her somewhere. So the question I'm trying to simply explain here, yeah, do you think Zayd and Amina would be a good match? No, yeah, it's going to be difficult for them to live. Do you agree? They're going to have conflicts. We're not saying they can't make it work. They might be able to make it work. But it's going to be much more compromising to do. Do we see? Why? Because their mindsets don't match. Do you see the point? Okay, let's look at the third person here. Amr. Amr wants an educated wife, but not a career-minded one. Expects to help at home, but his wife to be the main carer. All financial responsibilities rest on him. So what do you think of Amr?
Amr is... depends what you mean by educated.
Educated secularly.
So, okay.
I think it's 5, isn't it?
5?
I'd say actually it'd be close, maybe like 3.
Okay, 3. 3 to 5. Yeah, a bit more traditional than modern, maybe. Or maybe you might see certain things in there because, educated wife. But not career-minded one. Okay, so it's somewhere in the middle, we're saying. Yeah, 3, 5, whatever, something like that. Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's look at the next person. Zainab. Zainab would like to continue working, but understands her priorities are at home. Enjoys going out with friends regularly. So what do you think of Zainab?
Same as Amina was 5.
Yeah, similar? Similar to Amr? Okay. So around about 5, 6, maybe somewhere there, okay. Bakr. Bakr expects his wife to split the financial burden. So the bills and everything costs split, both of us. Will share household duties with her too. He says, I'll share the household duties. Doesn't want to have children until he has enjoyed married life with his partner. So how do you think Bakr is? Yeah, so modern, what number would you give him? 8. 8. Yeah, okay, good. Lastly, we have here Fatima. Wants to study, but is indifferent in having a career, meaning she doesn't mind. She's not decided on having a career in any way. Wants to have children early and dedicate her time to them. Enjoys going out with family regularly. So this is Fatima.
Maybe a 4, 3.
Yeah? Okay.
It depends what people deem as traditional also.
Yeah.
But when out with family regularly, if you're talking about the Asian culture, that's not traditional, is it? Because she's meant to be with the in-laws as much as she...
No, meaning she enjoys it currently. She ain't married yet.
Oh, gee.
She's not married yet, right? So she enjoys going out with her family, right? And this is what she does currently. So we're saying about, some people said 4, did I hear 4?
3, 4, yeah.
3, okay. So now if we were a matchmaker, if we were playing matchmaker, yeah, where would you put, let's just start with Zayd because we started with Zayd first. Who would you match with Zayd? Is it Amina, Fatima or Zainab? Fatima, innit? She's probably the most traditional out of all of them, right? Okay. Where would you put Amina? Amina was the next, right? Amina was like a 5 for us. No, sorry. Amina was a 10, wasn't it? 8, 10, some people said. So her and Bakr, innit? Bakr was an 8 as well. Can you see? And then the last 2 left are Amr Zainab, because they were very similar. Most people said 5 for both of them. So you see, Amr and Zainab get on well. Amina and Bakr would get on well, and Zainab and Fatima would get on well. Do we correct this? Obviously, this is a very little information because we don't want to, whole biography of theirs or something. But the idea is what? They've got little compromises to make. They'll get on better. And that's what I'm talking about, mindset. When the mindset is same, like we understood here, Zainab and Fatima, we put roughly around about Zaid and Fatima, sorry. Then you put Amr and Zainab there, so most of you, and you put Amina and Bakr there. So you see Amina and Bakr would get on well, Amr and Zainab and Fatima would get on well. So this is what I mean, that when your mindsets match, then you got harmony. But remember, this is just one example I've given you of traditional versus modern. There are many other mindsets, right? You got optimistic versus pessimistic, right? You got spender versus saver. Somebody who just wants to spend, no problem, spend. Another person who save. Different mindset, right? Yeah, there's growth versus stable. A person who wants to constantly explore, grow, go out there in the world. Whereas a person wants, no, I want stability, I want routine. I don't like when things go out of place. Yeah, you got a different mindset here. Right? Then you've got social versus individual. Somebody who likes to be around people constantly, doesn't like to be alone. Whereas another person who's quite recluse, wants to be alone, wants to be like, I don't like being around people too much. You got somebody who's individual. Somebody who's carefree versus somebody who's serious. Happy-go-lucky, always smiling, always joking. Everything's a joke for them. Careless, right? Or carefree, should I say. Whereas somebody who's completely serious in life, constantly, everything's serious to them. So you got different mindsets. And you got people like risk taker versus precautionary. So somebody who just likes taking risks, always bungee jumping and skydiving and all sorts of things, right? But another person that's constantly like when they leave the house, they're double checking to make sure they've turned the gas cooker off. Yeah, they're checking the windows twice. They're checking the door, making sure they've closed it. 2 times. Precautionary. So you got somebody who's 2 opposite spectrums here now. Yes, does that make sense? So there are many other things as well you can look at to see mindset. Okay? So the idea simply is to understand that you want somebody who matches you in most of your mindsets. You're not going to find somebody who matches you to the T, who matches you exactly as you are. You're not going to find that. Impossible. And sometimes it benefits to have somebody who's opposite to you to be able to bring you in the middle as well. Just to give a simple example, if you are somebody who's a risk taker, constantly taking risks, right? And then you got somebody else who's adrenaline junkie too, right? Risk taker, then you probably kill each other. Yeah? You understand me? So you need somebody on the other side that's pulling you to the middle a bit more. No, this one's a bit too much risk. Don't do that. Right? And then you're pulling them a bit this side as well. That, no, this one you're taking too much precaution. Come, let's do this. So you're making do with each other, you're compromising in these places. Does that make sense? So some things, they help. When you're too extreme in one, you need somebody who's on the other side to bring you in the middle. But with most of your things, you don't want somebody who is completely different to you. Completely different to you. Because if your ideology, your mindset is Islam, Deen, that's it, that's my focus. And you get people like that, right? Everything is about, that's it. Everything has to be focused on Islam, Deen, religion. Yes? Everything aside. They don't care about anything else. And then you got another person who's much more focused on, dunya. Yeah, world. Like, I want to have a nice house. And the other person's so focused on religion, like, why do you want to have a house? We're going to die. Like, we're going to have a house, and what are we going to do with it? It's not going to come with us. So why you want a house for? Do you get me in it? Yeah, this kind of a person. Yeah, and they've got like we've got enough. I'm wearing clothes 10 years old, no problem. It's still clothing my body. I don't need to buy new clothes. And the other one's like, no, it's gone out of season now. Yeah, we need to keep up with the fashion. Yeah, this is going to charity. And then the other one's like, you're putting in charity every time, you're wasting money. They're going to have constant arguments. Does it make sense? So this is what we're talking about. You have different mindsets. You have to understand what kind of a person this is, and do they match my mindset? Does that make sense? Now, how do you actually now practically go about determining this. Yes? So how would you actually determine whether this person is your mindset? And inshallah we'll end on this. So determining your ideal spouse. What would you do? You list everything you desire in your ideal spouse. So what do? You have to do your homework. You have to sit down with a pen, piece of paper, and write. If Allah was to tell you today, imagine, yeah, Allah told you that tell me what you want in your spouse, tell me everything, I'll create that for you. I'll create a spouse like this for you. What would you do? You'd spend all night in it. This is my chance. I don't want to leave anything this is my only chance. Because after it's done, it's done. So like this, write everything you want down in your spouse. Okay? So you have to sit there, you have to write it. And I always tell, when I tell people this, they like, when people are going for an interview, especially my students, they say to me, oh, make dua, Shaykh, I'm going to go for I've got a meeting with a proposal. So before I used to ask them, now they know, so they know how to approach it now. But before I used to ask them, okay, so what questions are you going to ask? They're like, what do you mean? Just going to go there and just take it as we go on. Just go with the flow. Just go and sit down and ask a few questions. Okay, so you think that's going to get you understanding? After that meeting, you're going to come out there, you're going to know whether you should marry this person or not. Do you think that's going to happen? They're confused. They're like, yeah, I thought that was going to happen. Okay, that's not going to happen. If you've been to a meeting and you've done that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes or no? You'll come out there and you'll still be confused. Yeah, in fact, maybe more confused than you were when you went in. You still don't know what you're going to say. And then you're going to bank on istikhara. What you're going to do, you're going to bank on istikhara. You're going to think that my istikhara will magically, because I'm so connected to Allah, yeah, my connection to Allah is so good that if I make dua to Allah, I will see a dream. Yeah, I will get wahi. Jibreel will come and give me something here. Yeah, go ahead and marry this person. As if that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. Right? We have to be real, innit? It's not going to happen. Right? So we have to do our homework. And I say to this person all the time, I say this, that okay, imagine you had a job interview. Yeah? And this job gives you 50k salary. 50k salary. Will you just go there tomorrow to the interview? Yeah, I'll just go there to the interview. No problem. Take it as it goes. Go with the flow. Will anyone do that? What are you going to do? You prepare it. Do your homework, right? You find out somebody who works there. Yes or no? Then you find out my friend's cousin works there. So you'll go to your friend that you know your cousin works there. Can you find out for me what kind of interview questions they get? Yes or no? You'll go to what length you can go to. You'll type on net. You will research everything you can to make sure you're prepared for that interview. Yes or no? So we treat that so seriously that we prepare for it. But marriage, which is a matter of the rest of your life, if this job you don't get it, what's the worst that can happen? No problem, go for another job. Marriage, which you only got one chance, yeah? You blow it, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard though, isn't it, realistically? I'm talking realistically, it's hard. Optimistically, you got more chances. But that's not realistic, is it? You're gonna blow it in your first chance, and that same chance won't come back to you again. You will get another chance, but now you've got this mark on you that you're a divorcee. You've been married before. Yes? So you won't get the same opportunity as you would have done the first time. So you have to get it right. The first time you want to get it right. So what do? Do your homework then. And your homework is what I'm telling you now. Sit down and write the list of those things that you require in your partner. It won't be one time thing. You sit down, you're going to get everything in. It's not going to happen like that, yeah? You're going to sit down, you're going to write a few things. Then you're going to be like, okay, that's it, I think. I can't think of anything else. No problem. Carry on your day. Whilst you're carrying on your day, something will come to you. Something will happen in front of you. You think, oh yeah, I want that too. Yeah? So go back to that drawing board and write that down as well. Then a few days later, something else happens. Oh yeah, I want that too. Whilst you're trying to get to sleep, you'll think of something else as well. Write that down too. And over the course of a week or two, what will happen? You would have reached a stage where you're now satisfied that this is my list. Okay? That's the first step. And inshallah, you're going to now take this message to others to help others down the stage. Okay? Next, what do? This list you got. Imagine you brainstormed all these things. And you got like 30 things in this brainstorm. You got like 50 things in this brainstorm. Yes? You got a list of 50 things. What you're going to do now? You're going to group the ones that are similar. Okay? So you might have, for example, there, you might have that I want them to be pious. Yeah, I want them to pray 5 times. I want them to, if it's a man looking for a girl, for example, I want her to wear a headscarf. Or a boy, I want him to have a beard, or somewhat a beard. Or I want him to be like this, I want her to be like this. So these qualities now, you circle them all, you group them into religion. These 5 things are all to do with them being religious. Yes? Then you see this, oh, I want them to be somebody who's health conscious, because I'm quite health conscious. I want them to be eating healthy. I want them to be going gym, doing some sort of exercise. I want them to be a certain build, certain physique. Yes? So you've written those things down, isn't it? Now you group all of them because they're all to do with what? For example, health conscious. Does that make sense? So you group the ones that are similar. You will end up with around about 10 categories. Not more than that. Okay? Maximum you'll have is 12. And I've done this multiple times to tell you this with so many different people. Is if you've got more categories, you haven't categorized properly here. Then I go back and I say, okay, look at this one and this one. Is it not the same? And they're like, oh yeah, actually they are the same. Okay? So you have to categorize them. And the reason why you have to categorize them is because, you know, our brain, you can't think of 50 things in one go. Is it possible? You can't think of 50 things in one go. You're going to have to group them into 10. A lot of people on average, I noticed, ended up with even less than 10, 8 categories. You will end up with 8 or 10 categories. Now you can think of 8 things. 8 things are comprehensible. Does that make sense? So you can think of 8 things now. That this is why I wanted a partner. This. Next, what you do is you list these 8 things or 10 things that you got in order of priority. So you rewrite your list. You've grouped them now. You write your list now. Okay, number 1 priority for me is this. So you write down your number 1 priority. Then you put down your number 2 priority. What's your number 2 priority? You write it down from the list of 10 things. So you write it in order of priority, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Does that make sense? Once you've got that now you're going to draw questions. You're going to think of questions that are going to be able to give you that information. Yes? So for example, let's just discuss one of them. Let's say you want to find out how religious they are. Yes? That's your number 1 priority example. So you wrote down religious. I want them to be religious. That's my number 1 priority. So now what are you going to ask them? Some people ask, for example, do you pray 5 times? Yes? To find out how religious they are. What do you think? Do you think it's a good question to ask?
Closed.
No.
Closed question.
It's a very closed question. Yeah. You can't ask closed questions, right? And you can't ask questions that are too open-ended that you can't find out anything. Yeah, because they just give a general answer. But if you give a closed question, then you're going to receive an answer which you're asking for, right? If you ask AI a closed question, you're going to get that answer. Why? Because it knows you're looking for the answer, it'll give you the answer. And then you will say, but that's not true. What AI is telling me is hallucinating. And that's because you asked the question like that. Your question, because whatever you ask, it knows what you're looking for. So it will try to please you. So it keeps you with it. Yeah? So the point simply is what? When you ask a question like, do you pray 5 times? What do you think a person's going to say? No. Obviously, if they like you and they want to get married to you, they're going to say yes. Or they're going to say, I try my best to. Oh yeah, I do most of the times. And I've dealt with a couple. Yeah? The grievance when they think that he doesn't pray. The man, he's not praying. So then I was like, okay, but they're going to try. But I asked him specifically this question. Before I married him, do you pray 5 times? And he told me yes. And he's like, no, I didn't say yes. I said, I tried to. I tried my best to. Yeah, but what does that mean? She was like, what does that mean? That means yes, innit? So he goes like, yeah, I pray 5 times in Ramadan. And that's what he meant. He meant that because Ramadan was just gone recently after their meeting. So he said, to him, he's like, I do pray 5 times because I pray 5 times in Ramadan. You see, because you asked the question like that, so you received an answer like that. And now after marriage, you feel deceived. You feel grieved now that you lied to me. Does that make sense? It's because you asked the question like that. So this is why it's important to not ask questions like this. It's not an interview that you're asking questions like this. You have to engineer questions. You have to think of questions how you will receive an answer. Yes? I'll give you an example, right? So, instead of asking what I would do in this position, for example, instead of asking, do you pray 5 times? I would say to them, you know what, yeah. You know, in conversation, obviously it is a build-up in conversation. So in the conversation I would say that, you know, in summer, I struggle so much with Fajr. It's so early. Yeah, I have to set so many alarms on my phone just to make sure I wake up. Do you have any tips, like, to wake up? And if they're giving you tips, yeah, you know what I do? I put my phone, like, on the other side of the room. Yeah, I make sure a family member knows that I have to wake up, so they wake me up as well. They're giving you tips. I make sure I sleep early. They're giving you tips. You know they're praying Fajr, right? Now you got somewhere, you see? But it didn't come across intrusive. It didn't come across as though you're trying to look for an answer. Yeah, because if they don't have tips because they're not waking up for Fajr, then they'll say that, oh, yeah, that's good tips. They'll just say that to you. Yeah, set alarms. Yeah. They'll just say something like that spontaneously to you. That you don't know yet, because they still might be praying Fajr. You don't know yet. But the point is that if they are praying and they've got tips, double benefit, right? You'll get tips as well. And you'll also find out something. But you're not making out like you're trying to find out something. You're not making it obvious. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So there's no wrong and right answer to it, is the point I'm trying to make. Likewise, another example of it, for example, I would ask, you know, in my free time, I like listening to speeches on YouTube. So I go to YouTube, I type in Shaykh, right, and I listen to speeches. Do you like doing something like that? Do you have hobbies like that? And if they say, yeah, I do that too. Oh, so what kind of sheikhs do you listen to? What kind of scholars do you listen to? So if they're rolling at the top of the tongue, they're telling you scholars, and then they're naming to you scholars, this person, this person, this person, and the same people you associate yourself with as well. Same sort of scholars you associate yourself with. Now you know, yes, the source of knowledge is similar. Yeah? So now you know you're getting somewhere. Does that make sense? But if they're telling you, yeah, I do listen to scholars, and then you're like, oh, so what kind of scholars? So they're like, oh, you know that guy? Yeah? You know that guy, the one that's, the one that was a tie, he was a suit, you know, I can't remember his name, I've got his name. Then you know they don't listen to them often enough to remember the name. So there's a saying to you perhaps. Does that make sense? So you're getting something. So you have to think, right? You know, to really think of questions, it takes time. This stage number 4 is the hardest stage, because you're going to think, how am I going to find out this number 1 priority of mine that I've got, religious, I want them to be religious. How am I going to find out? What questions will I ask? Yes? So different questions you can ask, and like that you'll be able to find out this. Then you move on to priority number 2. Your priority number 2 might be, let's say, I don't know, let's say a family person. I want somebody who's got family as their strong priority, right? So then how are you going to find out? You're going to ask questions. For example, what would be your ideal family size? If they say to you, one girl, one boy is enough for me. Yeah, that's my ideal family size. I like small families. Then you need to see whether that matches you or not. You see? Like that. Yeah, if they're like, no, I like the extended family. I like everyone living together. You know, I like my parents living together. I like to have a good family relationship daily. You know, then you need to see whether that matches you. So you see, you have to ask questions that are not so obvious, that are just coming through in conversation. But you have to draw those questions up. for you to even think of those questions when you're actually sitting and meeting with the person, right? So this is something that you need to do homework for. And if you don't do this homework, then you're not going to find it easy to find your ideal spouse. But if you do this, then you're heading on the right route to find your ideal spouse, inshallah. Does that make sense to people? So obviously there's a lot more left to do, but we've run out of time. Inshallah, another time, Allah give us life, and Allah Ta'ala make us meet again, and inshallah we can share more ideas. Inshallah we can all develop together. As you see, we're conversing, and what you're saying to me, inshallah, it creates inspiration for me to go and add certain tweaks. As you can see, so many other things I've thought of how, because of the feedback I get from different people, and it allows me to be able to tweak in accordance to the masses, that it will benefit the masses, inshallah, okay? So inshallah, hopefully benefited everybody somewhat to some degree. Make dua for us, that Allah Ta'ala accepts from all of us. We make dua for everybody, that Allah Ta'ala accepts whatever we're doing for the service of His deen, for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. Ultimately, we're doing everything for the pleasure of Allah. Allah Ta'ala grant us His pleasure. May Allah Ta'ala grant us life till Ramadan that's coming around the corner, that we're able to reap the benefits of Ramadan, inshallah. May Allah Ta'ala give us the ability to be able to spend each and every moment in a way whereby it's pleasing to Him, and save us from His displeasure. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan for listening to me. If you've got questions now, inshallah we can take some questions.
Where is the course online?
So if you go to this part of the course, we've not put online yet. The next part of the course, which is the actual marriage, into the marriage, what do you do? So if you come across, conflict, how to deal with it, all financial issues, intimacy issues, all sorts of issues, we deal with everything.
So it's the post-marriage.
Post-marriage, yeah. So that is what the marriage course is about, which is called, if you go into if you just type in Google, it's going to be the first link that comes up. Yeah, it's easy anyway, free. It's called marriagecrashcourse.com. Marriagecrashcourse.com. It's very easy. So go on Google and type it, it'll come up.
I was also going to ask with regards to the financial responsibility question. So these days, obviously, girls are quite, they're working, they've got good jobs, so but they've not got much financial responsibility in the
Yep.
sense that their fathers, their brothers, their future husbands, their rich they propose, everybody pays for them. So what they do is they get their £3,000 at the end of the month and then they blow it, and they don't really understand, they haven't got money
Yeah.
to pay. So what would be the sort of next actions to sort of make them align with the fact that money doesn't really come
Go on trees.
in that kind of way?
So it depends on your parenting approach. Some parents choose, I know some parents do, some parents choose to take the money off their children, and they'll on the side invest it for them into a house or something. So some parents do that, and then eventually when they get married, they don't know, eventually when they get married, they'll gift the house to them, because this is your house. So instead of them blowing their money, they've wisely spent their money, their child's money. It's not like they're using it for themselves. They've used it in something which they know which will be beneficial for them in the future. It's up to a parenting style. Some parents choose to give certain bills to certain children to pay up. You're paying for the water, you're paying for the gas, you're paying for the council tax, you're paying for this, you're paying for that. So they split it in accordance to their earnings now. So they start understanding responsibility a bit more, right? So some parents, depends, they make them give like a standing order allowance into the parents' account, that this much should come into my account monthly. The rest of it, what you do is up to you. So they have less now, which they will perhaps use wisely. It depends on your parenting style. But each child is different. That's why you have to treat each child differently. Some children react very good to you taking their money off them and investing it for them. Others won't. Others will react very differently, very opposite to that. They'll start hiding their earnings now from you. And they'll do all sorts of things because they think you're oppressing them. And they will have a very distant relationship with you now because of that. So you have to see that that's not actually working here. So then you might have to do something else. Like, for example, you get them onto a course that discusses financial responsibility and finance and investment. A secular course perhaps, but get them onto a small, short course somewhere. Do this course, I'll pay for you. So they start understanding money now. Does that make sense? So when they start understanding, some children react, but some won't react to that. When you make them do a course, it's like them doing a course, not doing a course, don't make a difference to them. So some won't react well to that. So each one is different. You have to tailor the way you treat that child. And whilst doing that, you have to explain to them also, they have to know that it's still, they'll say it's not fair. It's not fair. It is fair. Why is it not fair? You have to command that. You have to make them understand what is not fair. It's absolutely fair. I'm treating you the way it suits you, and I'm treating them the way it suits them. 100% true. 100% fair. Right? A simple example of that, a babyish example of that you can give. If you've got a child that's 2 years old and you've got a child that's 20 years old, right? If the 20-year-old asks you that, look, I need to buy some books, can you give me £20? You give £20. Are you going to be like, I need to be fair, give £20 to the 2-year-old too? No, innit? Right? You treat the 20-year-old like a 20-year-old. You treat the 2-year-old like a 2-year-old. That's fair. You have to meet their needs and meet their needs. That's the way you have to treat each child. That you see your child has certain deficiencies. They don't understand money very well. So I need to be more involved. With this one, they understand money. So I don't need to be so involved. I can just be advisor. So this is fair. Why? Because you are meeting their needs. They need to understand that. So once you command that to them, and if you've dictated that to them, there's no reason they come back to you and say that's not fair and they feel aggrieved. But you have to say, if you don't say it, they're going to feel aggrieved because they don't know what you're doing. But yeah, with parenting, this is the kind of thing.
And then mindset with a spouse, like when you're sort of going to see a girl, she says, I blow my money every month at the end of the month, obviously that's a red flag, right?
Yeah, but that's if she says that. I highly doubt she's going to say that.
There was a narration at the beginning, Ibn Majah mentions that marriage is from my son and the people that will follow my son is not from my way. Of course, we know there's big scholars out there that never got married.
100%. There were many scholars that didn't get married. What this hadith is, some have mentioned this, that's why those ... if you saw between. Because this particular hadith is an amalgamation of two hadith. There's this difference of opinion. Some say that no, it's part of one hadith, and later on Prophet ﷺ mentioned that. So is it necessarily connected directly to marriage or not? Does that make sense? But even if we do connect it, all it's saying is what we talked about previously, that if a person, a scholar, like if you asked, for example, you talked about Ibn Taymiyyah, yeah? If you asked him that is marriage sunnah, should I get married? He would say, yes, get married, it's sunnah, what are you doing? He will not say no, will he? So knowing that, believing that, is the point that's been made here. Whether it's suitable for you in your situation, because we talked about before that, if you remember, we talked about after that, in fact, sometimes marriage may not be suitable for you. Make sense? And some scholars, they prefer, obviously, they prefer to study and spend their life in knowledge than marry. That's what they did. Some people who are worldly people, they prefer to pursue money, reputation, power, whatever else, over marriage. That's their choice. They're giving priorities to certain things. So certain scholars give preference to ilm, knowledge, over marriage, and that's no problem as long as they can maintain themselves, as long as they don't fall into sin. Perfectly fine, no problem.
Also to clarify as well, when you categorised each, mubah, makruh, you mentioned sunnah, marriage is sunnah. Obviously, hadith would indicate that it's a sunnah because that's what Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say. Just to clarify, someone can get married without deeming it a sunnah. Is it not inherently sunnah?
No, it's inherently sunnah, but that person in their intention doesn't have the intention that I'm doing a sunnah act. So the point is that will that person will get the reward of it or not? Because innamal a'malu binniyat, the actions are judged, the reward of the actions, as we say, are judged in accordance to the intention. So if they don't make that intention that is sunnah, they're not going to get that reward. That's why for that person it still remains mubah to get married. We're not going to say it's impermissible, but obviously they've done a sunnah act, but they didn't do it with the intention of sunnah, so they won't get the reward of sunnah.
Or would that mean the nikah is invalid in the first place, if they're not intending it to be a sunnah?
Invalid?
Yeah.
No, because the nikah to be invalid takes certain things. Nikah can't become invalid just like that.
I think we got space for just maybe one more question and then we're going to have to do that.
Have you got any online? No?
I think one that I guess we could do as a last one is, regarding like WhatsApp and obviously sharing CDs, which is perfectly fine. But you know how people share images?
Yeah, okay, good question. Sharing images, because that's something we should have discussed as well. It comes later on, that's why we didn't get a chance to discuss this. Sharing images should not be done in immediate stage. First, like I said to you, first you find out. If you see promise, then you can share images. The reason why image is shared is to save you from, if it's a distant trip, to take a trip all the way down there. Now obviously nowadays, you can save that by having a video call, right? If you don't want to share image, and you fear that your image will be shared out to others, right? I can understand, especially for a sister who maybe covers up properly. She doesn't want her face to be plastered everywhere. So you can solve this by maybe, you have the WhatsApp one-time open, one-time view. So you can do it like that as well, right? You got plenty of ways. You got plenty of ways nowadays to be able to share. You can have somebody that you trust in the middle. You share it on their phone, and they will show with their phone, here you go, see. Yeah, and they see and then give it back. There's ways to do it, right? If you don't feel comfortable sharing your actual picture with them and sending it out. But there should be some sort of picture being sent. Not that, no, I demand that you come see me. Why? Because then if it's distant, it becomes very difficult for that person then to come see you, and then they step into the room and they're already thinking, what did I do? Oh, I've spent all this journeying, and it's already a no for me. And I'm telling you that happened to a friend of mine, that's why I'm telling you. A friend of mine journeyed from London to Leicester. It's not a small journey, right? London to Leicester, he said to me, as soon as I stepped into the room, I already knew my answer. He said to me, what were they thinking? The people who proposed this, middle people, what were they thinking? They didn't see me and her. We're not matched at all. Like obviously he's more into his looks and he's being real about it. Does that make sense? So obviously, unfortunate, but these are things that obviously a picture would have saved all of that. So yeah, and one other thing just on that note as well, very important is never share personal contact details. Okay? This is something that should never be done. And the reason, because if you share personal contact details, then you will form affiliation with one another. Because you'll start messaging. That's where it'll start from. It'll start from messaging. And it'll start from innocent messaging first. It'll be a genuine question first even. Because shaitan will feed you. Yeah? He'll make you ask, ask that question, you really wanted to know the answer to that. Yeah, you never got to ask that. So you'll ask the question and then reply. That gets things going. Right? The next day you'll be like, are they going to ask? They're going to say, oh, yeah, I hope you're well. Yeah, just like that. And the next day it's going to carry on going. And then what happens? A fonding creates. And that slowly develops into a actual bond that creates between them over messaging. Right? Now, if they were actually not good to one another, yes, and they were going to discover, if they had not formed this bond, that this person is not the right person for me, they would have said no, isn't it? But now tell me, are they going to say no to each other? They're not going to say no on it. So they're going to get married now. And then when they get married, first day they will have problems. Because then now you will see, oh my gosh, what have I done here? And that's one reason why many marriages are falling apart very quickly in the first few months, because they're not understanding what they're doing before marriage. They're setting themselves up for failure. Okay? So this is something to bear in mind, inshallah. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Allah bless you all. Jazakumullah khair al-fawz. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله